Welcome back, everybody. This is Eric here with Iraq Veteran 8888. And today, we're going to be talking about this tragic shooting that occurred in Russia. All right, if you haven't heard about it, about 4 or 5 armed men went into a concert venue in Moscow or near Moscow in Russia and killed about 137 people and set fire to the theater. It was a whole big fiasco. You may have heard about it. You may not have. Obviously, look, despite what is going on the geopolitical front and on the front of, look, no matter how you feel about the war that's going on with Ukraine and Russia or any of the things going on geopolitically, at its core basis, the people that were killed were just innocent people trying to enjoy concerts. So you have to remember that, okay? You may not like Russians, you may not like Ukrainians or what's going on. Look, none of that even matters at the end of the day. What happened was tragic. And you know what? My heart goes out to those people, even though, look, a lot of people view the Russians as our enemy. It's not the citizens of a country that are our enemy, right? It's the governments of these countries that are our enemy. And you have to remember that these are just innocent people trying to live their life and do the best they can in their life. And, I think it's important to recognize that. We're going to get into an article from Ammo Land, which points out some really kind of messed up hypocrisy about the shooting and everything like that. And I think you may come away with some great information. Before we get started, I would like to thank our friends at CMMG for supporting today's video. They are the king of weird. If you want anything in the AR category, they are your go-to people. They got some really awesome stuff. Their bufferless descent line is absolutely amazing, available in a bunch of different calibers and barrel lengths. Also, their 22 conversion kits are one of the best on the market. Definitely check them out, CMMG, and tell them we sent you. So what I want to discuss is not only how terrible the shooting was, but also the hypocrisy surrounding it and how you never hear anything about it in the media. This is an article on Ammo Land from David Caudria. Gun prohibitionists show their true colors by what they don't say of the Russian mass shooting. Okay. And I'm not going to go and read through every single little bit of this article, but I'm going to share a few things in here. Some new deaths are still occurring following Friday's massacre at the Crocus City Hall just outside of Moscow, with the figure at 137 at the time of this writing. That's almost 2.5 times the body count amassed in the Las Vegas shooting, despite Russian gun laws that would merit an A+ rating from the Giffords Law Center for U.S. states, with infringements including licensing, registration, background checks, psychiatric clearance, and police permission. Now, despite facts still unfolding and the investigation being completed by a government of questionable credibility, fingers are being pointed with certainty by factions with the dog in the fight. The official version is that the ISIS has claimed responsibility and that an escape plan had been uncovered leading to Ukraine, which in turn points back at Russian President Vladimir Putin using this as an excuse to ramp up aggression. Others are claiming fingerprints all over this belonging to Mossad, MI6, and the CIA, especially after the State Department warned Russia it was picking up chatter about a possible terrorist attack that could occur at a concert. Well, if we warn them, I mean, come on, I don't know. Why would we warn them unless we were concerned about something happening to innocent people? That would be sort of my co-argument to that. Let's see. Beyond a reasonable doubt has never been the long suit of lynch mobs, and the agencies and governments mentioned have only their own past outrages to blame for being suspects. As for the reliability of information yet to be learned, while cutting off a terrorist's ear, trying to force him to eat it, and plastering his bloodied mug on the front page may have a certain appeal to those looking for creative ways to deter mass shooters. Looking at their 15 minutes of fame, any intel coerced with torture will have its own credibility issues, along with an Eighth Amendment prescription we allow to be disregarded at our own peril. Besides, low-hanging fruits are generally the last to know who the informants and provocateurs in their cells really are and who they work for. Plenty of other reports will talk about all this, so let's look at the aspect of this story not getting any press. And that's deliberate. Let's look at what the gun prohibitionists, who are always quick to gin up the mob and demand more infringements before the facts are known, aren't saying about the shooting that occurred at the Russia concert massacre there. Let's see. I'm not going to read every little tiny bit, but let's see here. It's almost like gun violence is just a made-up term to exploit low information voter emotions, and gun safety isn't really the issue at all with these people. It's almost like it's all one big stupid scam to swindle their countrymen out of their birthrights for reasons they won't state. And if a story won't serve those purposes, it's not worth mentioning, especially if, as in Russia, the government has already been doing everything they demand here for years. And of course, they give a whole bunch of, examples here, right? The Democrats over at X, the party of citizen disarmament, can't be bothered. They're too focused on the competing priorities of Women's History Month or how Kamala Harris inspires girls and young women everywhere. Meanwhile, gun grabber-in-chief Joe Biden is proud to stand with the Latino community today in every way, a few days after the El Paso border invaders exhibited violence that would have gotten J6 protesters 10 more years, and brags he will fix broken student loan problems. Can there be any doubt that he had a shooting 1/10 the scale of what happened here, that he'd be demanding more gun bans and telling more lies? Ditto for AstroTurf Rice Bowl prohibitionists, Moms Demand Action, Everytown, Giffords, all the usual suspects. Not a word from them or from indignant professional pearl clutcher David Hogg at this writing. Yeah, because they know that Russia already had the gun laws in place that these guys parrot for so hard, and that it did nothing to stop these shooters. Now, again, I don't believe in politicizing the deaths of people in order to make some sort of a political point. However, I think that in the name of the dead, you must make these points because there are ways to prevent these things from happening, and that is for an armed populace, for people to be armed and have the ability to protect themselves and to face evil where they see it. And I believe that you're actually doing a discredit to the dead to not stand up for their right that was taken from them to protect themselves. Right. Now, Russia is their own country. They have their own rules and laws and whatever. Let them run their country how they want. However, the humanist in me sees it as an issue of, well, if these people were massacred, well, then, by gosh, why not give them the tools to protect themselves? Why was there not better security at this venue? Why were there not armed people to protect these concert goers? Why was there not better things in place to take care of that, right? One could argue all day long as to why something happened or why it didn't. But the best deterrence to a mass shooter will always be a person having a gun and being able to protect themselves against that person right there in the moment. Now, it's not to say that law enforcement and all that they don't want to be there to save the day. Now there is no requirement for them to risk their life to protect you. They have no duty to protect you, but there are good ones out there that would probably risk their life to protect you. And does that mean that they're going to be around every corner the minute something breaks out? No, they're not. And even if they were, there's no guarantee that they're going to go out of their way to risk their life, and they have no duty to risk their life to protect you. That's not saying they're not good people and that there aren't some good ones out there. There are, but there's also a bunch of them that would not be bothered to even, make the effort to go out of their way to do anything that might put them in harm to protect you. Yeah, they're going to observe and report, but it doesn't mean they're going to actually do anything about it. The absolute best way to prevent someone from becoming a victim is to make sure they have the tools to not be a victim. That is a fact, right? Why do you arm your police? Why do you arm your military? Because you don't want those people to just succumb to victimhood in any situation they're going to be in. They got to be able to stand toe-to-toe with their enemies, right? Well, guess what? The people at large have enemies too, okay? And evil is the enemy in many situations, right? How do you combat evil? You destroy it right where it stands. And I don't know why I have to always say this, but, it's not to politicize the death of innocent people. That's not why we want to make these videos, is to politicize it. No, it's actually not to politicize it. The point is to say that these things could be prevented and that our side of the camp have actual solutions that will work, and that society wants to, play the emotional coin and say, well, if we have more gun laws, it's going to prevent this. Nah, you're lying to yourself. Not going to prevent anything, because you can see Russia has plenty of strict gun laws, and it didn't prevent anything from occurring. It actually made the situation far more worse by having more strict gun control in place. What happened is terrible, and from what I understand, they actually have caught those people and brought them to justice. They were taken before a court, and from what I understand, Russia doesn't have the death penalty, which is kind of weird, but they don't. Russia doesn't have a death penalty, and from what I understand, these people are going to spend the rest of their lives in prison in a tiny little cell, not much bigger than a coffin. Pretty scary situation. I mean, that should deter anybody from thinking you're ever going to mess with somebody like Russia. Now, that has to be a terrible way to live out your days. They have to be in the kneeling position or something, like not even be able to stretch out and lay down. That's going to be a short life for them. As it should. I mean, it's a terrible thing to do to your fellow man. You know, you can remove the geopolitical noise from the situation and just look at these people as people. Those Russians were innocent people that didn't mean anybody any harm. They're just trying to enjoy a concert, enjoy a night out with their friends and family, and then tragedy struck. And that's terrible, right? I have nothing against Russian people, okay? I have nothing against the Ukrainians. I got nothing against any of them people over there. But I think that it is time that we really take a stronger look at what can be done to prevent these types of things from happening, not only on a global stage, but on our own stage here in America. You know, I obviously care about my people very much, and I don't want to see these types of events happen to anybody. But having an armed populace and being able to protect ourselves where evil strikes is the answer. And I hope society wakes up before more of these things happen, especially with everything going on in our country right now. It's a pretty scary time to be alive for sure. You got to stand at the door and stand ready. So I hope that that's what people will take upon themselves to do. That's my hope. So I hope everybody has a great day. Thanks so much for tuning in. Many more videos on the way. We'll see you soon.